Hi, I'm Liz and welcome to my channel, Creating Inner Beauty. Today I thought it would be fun to do a deck collection video. I really enjoy watching those on YouTube myself. So I just wanted to take a little bit of time to catalog my personal collection. It's not very large, it's pretty small and consists of mostly mass market decks. But I thought today we would go over my Oracle deck collection, and then hopefully I can look back at this at some time and say like, oh, my collection was so small then and it's been so much bigger now. That's my goal. But recently I haven't, I've been trying to avoid purchasing a lot of extraneous things because of all of the COVID stuff and just trying to be careful. So I thought I would go through, enjoy what I have right now, and share it with all of you. So these are in no particular order, but let me start with my newest deck. Actually, this is the newest one to my collection. I bought it, I don't know, a couple months ago now, I think. And it's the Divine Feminine Oracle by Megan Watterson with artwork by Lisbeth Cheever Jessamine. Or Gessamine, I'm not exactly sure. And really enjoying this deck. I really like working with divine feminine energy, and you'll probably notice on my channel that I like to do a weekly goddess energy guidance video. And I feel very connected to working with goddess spirituality personally, and I really enjoy doing that with my clients as well. And I also really loved Megan Watterson's book. I think it's called Mary Magdalene Revealed. That's a really interesting book. I highly recommend you check it out if you have any interest in, goddess spirituality, the divine feminine and religion, Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene's relationship with Jesus, any of those topics. It's an awesome book. I always knock on my cards to remove the stagnant energy. But anyway, I'm just going to show you some of the cards. You probably have seen this before. But they have these beautiful red backs. And I actually tried to etch this deck in kind of like a gold Sharpie. It came out, the marker was a little bit dry, so it wasn't like the very best job I've ever done. But I thought it kind of added to it rather than the white sides, and it goes with the yellow and golds in the back. And so I've been enjoying working with this deck. I'll show you some of the cards. Today is, I think it's St. Bridget's Day. So how appropriate that this card was the first one. And the cards have usually a female figure, whether it be a saint, a goddess, some important female figure in history, and then a message from them. And at first when I got this deck, I was a little bit uncertain about that. That's so funny. Both Brigitte cards were right on the top. Interesting. And there's this. I was a little bit uncertain about working with this deck because although I'm pretty familiar with a lot of different goddesses from around the world, I wasn't so familiar with the saints. So it's been really, at first it was a little bit challenging connecting with that energy, but it's been really interesting reading through the guidebook. It's quite a good guidebook, gives you a little bit of history, and I found it to have some powerful messages, and I have used this in some readings with clients, and they've resonated with the messages that have come through. Sorry if you hear little feet running around. That's my two cats who rarely move, but of course right now they've decided to chase each other around. Okay, so that's the Divine Feminine Oracle. Okay, second goddess deck. This one I use a little bit more often because I'm a little bit more comfortable with the various goddesses in this deck, and that's the Goddess Power Oracle by Colette Theron Reed, and the artwork by Jenna Della Grattaglia. And kind of a similar idea, very similar actually, just a single goddess figure. But I do like the artwork on this deck. And the guidebook on this deck is quite good as well. It gives you a message for the upright meaning, for the reversed meaning, and a little bit of a background about each goddess. Freya. Okay. Now, my last goddess deck, I was going to go over that. Well, I'll just go over it now. Is actually a Doreen Virtue deck, and I used this for quite a while. I've used it less often now since I have these other decks by Colette Baron Reed and Megan Watterson, but just kind of show you. I'm sure you've seen it before. These are the backs. I don't love the artwork on this deck, but it still does give some good messages. And so the way I tend to use my oracle decks is sometimes for myself. I will pull cards from myself occasionally. I try not to do it too often. I find it less effective than, let me put it this way. I like to do that in journal. I don't necessarily find it that helpful to do as a sort of a predictive thing for myself, but I do really enjoy using them in client readings. And so what I like to do in client readings is choose a tarot deck that feels like it's going to resonate with the client intuitively, and then a couple of oracle decks to kind of flesh out the message. And it's always so amazing how there's something in each deck that really resonates with the person. So I like having a little bit of variety so that I can match the energy of the deck to the energy of my clients. So those are my 3 goddess decks. Let me jump to, just because I like to keep things fair and balanced. Anybody in my life knows me, like everything has to be super balanced. So let me jump to my masculine deck, oracle deck, which is the only one I have, sadly. That's more masculine focused, but it's the God and Titans Oracle by Stacey DeMarco, illustrated by Jimmy Manton. And does have a pretty masculine feel with these backs. And then the artwork, I like it. I am can be a little bit on the nerdy side and like comic books and other things like that. It has that kind of feel to it, so I can get down with that. And it has kind of an interesting variety of different gods, some of which I had not really known about before, so it was interesting reading about them and connecting to that energy. And I actually used this deck with a female client just the other day, and it was very helpful actually because she was working on healing her relationship to the masculine and looking at the role of men in her life. And this deck really wanted to come and give her some powerful and loving guidance messages. And I think that that was a really positive thing for her. So I really appreciated having that in my collection. And I hope to find some more masculine decks that can represent that energy for both myself and the clients that I work with. Okay, let's move on to some other things. Here are 2 decks that have wanted to be really present in my readings recently. These are both Lucy Cavendish decks, Oracle of the Mermaids and Oracle of the Fairies, and I really like especially fairies, but both of those. And at first when I got this Oracle of the Mermaids deck, I wasn't sure like how much I was going to use it, but actually during client readings, this one wants to come out a lot and has some really like beautiful emotional messages that come along with it, and very like gentle but to the point. These are the backs. We got this mermaid on it. A little bit like fantasy art-ish, which I personally like. It kind of just depends on what your aesthetic is, I guess. Here are some cards. tranquility. I don't think I've ever got that card. Concomancy, I guess seashell divination. I've never done that before, but that sounds interesting. Reflections. So you kind of get the sense of those. Guide. So I really enjoyed working with those. And then this is the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle. And I got this deck. I've always liked fairies. I've been drawn to them and the fae in general at different points in my life. But recently in meditation, I would say this is like my second newest deck. Recently in a meditation, I had like some fairy energy come up and fae energy come up. So it felt like it was the right time to connect to a deck like this. These are the backs of this deck. And then pretty similar artwork. I don't know if I said who the artist was. The artist is Selena Fennick. And then they really should make these things more apparent. Yes, Selena Fennick for both of them. Okay, so as I said, these are the backs. And these are the cards. So kind of similar fantasy art sort of style. And I like the sort of the interesting titles that she gives the cards and then the keywords at the bottom. I feel like both of them are like nice springboards for intuition. And they've kind of helped really help me connect to what the message of each card is. So, you know, sort of similar in art style because they're by the same artist, by the same deck creator, slightly different energies, but both have been very useful in both readings and some personal journaling that I've done. Okay, where should we go now? Here is a deck I use a lot actually in readings. And these cards are funny. These cards will like tell you. They don't like mess around. The Power of Surrender cards. And I didn't expect that from this deck. I actually didn't expect much from this deck at all when I got it. And it's by Judith Orloff. And I'll show you the cards. Judith Orloff is a psychiatrist who is also like an empath and intuitive. And I've actually seen her speak in person as well as read a couple of her books. And she's a really interesting woman and really nicely ties together Western medicine and also connecting to intuition and using your own healing powers, your own connection to the divine, and really gives a lot of space for a number of different things that I was trying to categorize, but basically like the importance of energy in your healing process, the importance of your intuition, the importance of protecting yourself energetically and using your empathic gifts and making sure you're not taking on too much for other people, all kinds of different things like that, but still within the framework of Western medicine that I think is a really powerful blend that can be really useful in our modern world. Anyway, these are the backs. I think they're quite pretty. I really enjoy those backs. And then these cards, they're less about the artwork, although sometimes the artwork is pretty, and more about the written messages on them. So this one is Surrender Outdated Beliefs About Yourself, Surrender Resentments, Surrender to Joy. So it's sort of a mixture, if you are not familiar with these cards, between things that you should let go of and surrender and things that you should surrender to and allow in. And every time I've used these cards for myself, they're super spot on. Every time I've used these cards for clients, it's just kind of like, well, that, like, what more do you need to know? Like, you pull the card and they're like, yep, that's right. Like, that totally resonates with me. And very, like, to the point. And a funny story I have about this deck in particular is there was been a couple times where I've pulled, let's say, 2 cards on a particular issue in the morning, and for whatever reason, you probably shouldn't do this, it's unnecessary, I don't know like what made me do this again, but later on in that same day in the evening, I asked the cards the same question, just kind of get to double check, see what happened. Same 2 cards came out. I had shuffled. I pull my cards by feel, so I had no idea what it was that where the cards were in the deck or when I spread them out. Same 2 cards. Like, it, once it gives you the message, that's the message, and you better take it. So that's kind of fun. And really nice for like rounding out a reading, especially if the reading has been about what a person's blocks are, what might be kind of getting in the way of them manifesting what they want, or what they still need to heal. It really kind of pinpoints further what are some of the things that need healing and need surrendering in order to help someone move forward. So I really enjoy using that in my readings as well. Okay, let me see now. Let me go to the rest of my Doreen Virtue decks, which I do have a couple, and I know that might be a little bit controversial, but I got these decks forever ago, like probably at least 10 or 12 years ago, and I'm not inclined to waste money and not use them. So I still use them. I also feel like now they're my decks and have my energy in them. So they're less about Doreen Virtue and more about me. And I've used them in readings with clients, and they do actually have very pertinent messages. So I've continued on to use them. So those are some magical mermaids and dolphins. That's the back. And here are the fronts. And once again, not necessarily, the artwork isn't my favorite or anything, but the messages are often on point, and they're stated in such a way that's gentle but simple and understandable. And so I feel like that makes them quite nice for client readings. So that's the Magical Mermaids and Dolphins. Then I have the Angel Therapy Oracle deck. And this is more about like healing. I mean, all of it's healing and guidance, but specifically things like what chakras need to be healed, what angels you can work with, what actions you can take in order to clear your energy field, that kind of thing. So these are the backs. Here are the fronts, same thing, kind of title, little message, piece of artwork. For example, sacral chakra, healing around that, mediumship, listen to your intuitive feelings, base chakra, manifestation power. So that's those. And I went through a period of time where I used this deck a lot for like my own healing and clearing and working on balancing my chakras. So I do enjoy having that in my collection. And then I have the Romance Angels Oracle cards. And I haven't really used these a ton for myself, a little bit. But I don't tend to read for myself that often. But I have used them for clients, and I do find them to be useful in that sense. And I would like to find another deck actually to add that is very specifically about romance, because I do get a lot of questions about love and love life and how to move forward positively. These are the backs. And then, same idea, title, message, artwork that is not necessarily my favorite, but is fine. Okay, so those are my Doreen Virtue decks. Where we're going to go now. Okay, let me go to this deck. It's the Messenger Oracle by Raven Phelan. I believe that's how you pronounce that. I really like this Oracle deck. I haven't used it that often recently, but I very much resonate with a sort of earth-based spirituality as well, and with a lot of pagan symbolism and rituals. So I really enjoy connecting with this deck. And you see the pentagram on the back, and then the artwork. I really enjoy her artwork. To me, it has kind of a fantasy element, but I love the beautiful colors, and then the focus on nature. A lot of beautiful symbolism. Now, I don't have the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, which is also by the same creator, but I would really like to get it. So once I open up my budget for deck purchasing, I'll be doing that. Oh, and I won this deck in a little giveaway that somebody I worked with very closely was doing, and sorry, I dropped a card. So it has special meaning to me in that sense as well. And one thing I really actually liked doing with this deck too is, I think I mentioned before, I like to work on balance, and also very much on, I've been working on balancing my masculine and feminine energies. So there's a divine masculine and divine feminine card in this deck. So occasionally I'll pull them out and put them on my altar, and kind of just have them to represent those balanced energies. Okay. And, okay, let me go into some Colette Baron Reed decks I have. And so this is a spirit animal oracle. Art once again by Jenna Della Grataglia. And these are the backs. I think they're really pretty color. I edged this one. I think I used that same marker, but this one it was that I used on that other deck, but this is when it was new. So it did a little bit of a better job. I think it goes really nicely with the backs. When I figured out that you could like color the sides of your deck, that was like a whole new world for me. It's very exciting. Okay, and these cards are focused on connecting to animal spirits, but not necessarily the animal in the real world, but more the higher self of the animal, or the spirit version. So you can kind of see the artwork. Some of it has some like very fantastical elements to it. But I think it's really beautiful. And usually my animal decks, whether it be like this oracle deck or any tarot deck that features animals in it, will sort of intuitively nudge me to come out when I have clients who are particularly grounded, or really enjoy connecting with nature, or would benefit from connecting with nature. So I really like having animal decks in my collection. How pretty this one is. Okay, very good. Let's see, my next Colette Baron Reed deck is the Wisdom of the Oracle. used this deck in a while. This is the backs. And the artwork on this one, once again, I think it's also by Jenna Della Grattiglia, but it's not super clear on the box, which seems kind of unfair. Okay, sorry, as I said, artwork on the back. It is reversible, and similar to the Goddess Power Oracle, as well as to the Spirit Animal Oracle. There are an upright meaning and a reverse meaning, although in each deck she calls it something different. It's like the alignment message and the upright message or something along those lines. And I haven't used this deck in a little while, but actually I really do enjoy it. I will do occasionally daily card pulls with this deck and find the messages helpful. I enjoy the artwork in this deck. It kind of feels very like fantasy storybook, dreamy to me. And I also enjoy the titles of the cards as well. I'm gonna have to keep this deck out and use it a little bit more often. Okay, now where are we going? Okay, so those were my Colette Baron Reid decks. Then I have this deck, Energy Oracle cards by Sandra Ann Taylor. And I got this deck because I think I watched a video. I can't remember whose video it was, but they said this was a really good deck for beginners. And this was like around the time that I was first starting to get Oracle decks. And I do like it, or I like the artwork on it, and it's by Sandra Ann Taylor, if I didn't say that before. These are the backs, but I will say I used it like once or twice, and it like gave me a message I didn't really appreciate. I didn't enjoy. It wasn't what I was looking for, so I kind of packed it up and put it away. I was like, I'll talk to you later. I can't deal with you right now. So I think that's actually probably a good thing looking back at it, because it's a very like straightforward, straight shooter type of deck. And I think I will take it back out and see if I can connect with it a little bit more positively now that that particular issue is no longer one that is on my mind. Does that ever happen to anybody else? You kind of get upset with your decks if they seem to be not aligning with what you want to be occurring. Let me know in the comments. I hope I'm not the only one, not the only crazy person just talking with her decks. Okay, so next, I think, let me go on to this is the Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light Oracle cards with artwork by Danielle Noel. Really, I think this is a really beautiful deck. Really enjoy Danielle Noel's artwork, and I enjoyed Rebecca Campbell's book. I believe it was called Light is the New Black. If you know you're in a space where you're thinking about how to find your life purpose and what really brings you joy and what you want to bring to the world, I think that's a really nice book to connect to. It's a really easy read, but helps sort of start that thinking process. These are the backs. I love that, those pastel colors. And the roses. Roses are definitely one of my favorite flowers, and I'm a pretty girly girl, I'm not gonna lie, so I very much enjoy that sort of color scheme. Sort of this collage artwork. And I find that this deck very much comes out when I'm seeing clients that are working on their spiritual path and journey, that are connecting to their intuition more, that resonate with being star seeds and connecting to that cosmic kind of energy. this deck has some really beautiful messages for that, and it has a very divine feminine energy as well, but in a different way, I will say, than some of those other goddess decks. Those other goddess decks feel much more grounded and earth-based to me, and these cards and the energy around them definitely feels much more cosmic and like crown chakra, and connecting to a very like high vibrational sort of energy. Okay. So that's the Work Your Light Oracle. Okay, and then heading down to the end, just we have 4 more left. Let me go on my last, no, not quite last, but second to last mass market deck. This is an affirmation deck by Gabrielle Bernstein with artwork by Michaela Ezra. The Universe Has Your Back. And I did get a lot of these oracle decks during Hay House's like sale, where they're like 50% off. So that's why a lot of them are Hay House decks, and that's a really good time to buy decks. Because if you can get it on sale, why not? Okay, and these are the backs. I think they're really pretty. And then this is the artwork, and these are mostly just, you know, focused on the messages, the affirmations, but with some really pretty designs and colors in the back. And I will occasionally pull this at the end of readings for a client as like sort of a takeaway affirmation for them. And they usually very much resonate. I will occasionally also do my own like daily card pulls for an affirmation for the day with this deck as well. Okay, and then last mass market oracle. This is by Laureen Anderson, Juliet Diaz, and illustrations by Giada Rose. It's one of my newest decks as well. It's the Season of the Witch Samhain Oracle by Rockpool Publishing. And I haven't worked that much with this deck, but I did get it around Samhain, around Halloween, which was just a couple months ago, and I did enjoy using it during that time. I think I will likely reserve it mostly for that time. Has these red backs, really kind of beautiful, the moon, and then this really cool red gilding. I'm not a huge fan of red overall, but I really like it for this deck. And then the artwork is a little darker. It still sort of has a fantasy aspect to it, but I think it goes really well for that sort of darker winter Samhain energy. My cards are upside down. And the guidebook for this deck is quite good. Something that I found very interesting in it is I felt like the messages in the guidebook, as well as just like the readings from these cards in general, are like not sugar-coated and willing to tell you the darker side of things in a way, not like dark evil, but just like pointing out the challenges, the potential challenges, or the shadow side of things, so that you can kind of take a look at it and be aware and check yourself if you need to. That was my experience with this deck. And so I think that that has a really useful place in my collection, because I don't have that many decks that are geared toward that. And as I said, I like to have a balance of everything. So I think I need more of that in my collection. I have not yet used this with any clients, but I think I will pull it out around Halloween and Samhain and probably see how that goes with clients. Okay, last two decks, and these are my not mass market decks. These are my more independent decks. This is the Moon deck by Arona Leah, illustrated by Andrea Kay. And this is, I consider this very much, it's focused on the moon, but it's also very much focused on self-care and self-care for women. These are the backs, and I really enjoy this deck. I'll use these cards during my own moon work and moon rituals. I also tend to pull them in in readings with clients who I'm feeling are really needing to focus on their self-care and self-love, self-worth. I think the messages are really powerful for that and very much resonate, especially with my feminine energy clients. And so each card kind of has this image and then a little like message or affirmation at the bottom. Okay. And then last deck is my Inner Star Oracle Magic Edition. And this is by Joe Klima, I believe. The Darling Tree, yeah, designed by Joe Klima. And I actually carried, I'm out of stock now. This is the first edition. And so I've sold them all, but I carry them in my little self-care and beauty shop. You can find the details about that below in the description box. But I have a website with a little range of oracle and tarot decks and natural beauty products, meditation products, and crystal jewelry, things like that, that I am working on. And this is one of the decks I carried because I thought it was really pretty. I enjoyed the colors and I enjoyed the messages. I liked the Magic Edition because, as I mentioned, I'm a pretty girly girl and I like these sort of like pastel-y colors. So those are the backs. And then these decks have a combination of sacred geometry and designs on them with some really beautiful affirmational messages. This is elevate your mind, new perspective, present moment. Sorry, I can't read in the projecting oneself. And it's a pretty nice range of topics covered in the cards. And I find them very useful for like a daily draw, or if I'm needing a one card guidance message, and a focus for the day. Also kind of use them to wrap up client reading with like a one card message and takeaway. It's been very useful for that. And then also what I like about them is your eye is kind of drawn to the design at first, and that's something to pay attention to, but there are these sort of like images in the background that once you start studying the card, trigger your intuition and give you some further thoughts about what the card might be about or telling you. Like this has some like beautiful water imagery in the background, connecting to emotions, connecting to compassion, that sort of thing. So I've found these really beautiful to work with as well. And okay, I think we've reached the last one. So that is my current Oracle deck collection, February 1st, 2021. We'll see how it grows, what else I bring into it in the future. If I do, I will definitely update you. I hope you enjoyed seeing my Oracle decks. If you have any questions about them or have any questions about how I use them or how I use them in readings, please do feel free to let me know. Let me know if you have any of them and if you like working with them as well. What have been your experiences? I'd be really interested to know. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, I also do weekly tarot energy readings, goddess guidance readings, and more. Please feel free to like this video, subscribe, and let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see. Take care. I hope you have a wonderful day.